Hey guys, Weep here. Welcome back to another video by Variety MMOs. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Sharpshooter for Lost Ark. So the Sharpshooter will fulfill anybody's desire who is looking for kind of a traditional feel for like a ranger or a archer class that you would usually see in an MMO. Many of your abilities will shoot straight forward, as you can see here. You'll have some traps, you'll have some invisibility, and just the generic feel that you come to expect from an archer or a ranger in an MMORPG. Using your invisibility along with your AoE and long range attacks, you'll be using your hawk to do damage to enemies while staying on the back line to survive long into the fight while outputting large amounts of DPS. So in this video, we're going to have a look at all of the Sharpshooter's abilities. We're going to have a look at the leveling abilities I'd recommend to level up quickly. And then we'll go and have a look at a Chaos build guide, and we'll have a look at the abilities and explain why we use certain things over others. So let's get into it. So let's look at the abilities for the Sharpshooter class. So first up, we have Rapid Shot, Atomic Arrow, Tsunami Arrow, Arrow Shower, Moving Cut, Blade Storm, Claymore Mine, Charging Shot. Followed up by your first awakening, which is Messenger of Fenrir. Okay, so now let's use our pet's ability. So we're going to summon it. We'll use the Z key. As you can see, it does some nice AoE damage. And now we're going to use its final attack. Okay, so Fenrir, Messenger of Fenrir, does this. This is actually a pretty cool ability. Boom. Dead. Next up, we have Volley Fire, Sharp Scrutiny, DM42, Persistent Chase, Evasive Shot, Vital Slash, Smoke Arrow, Electric Nova, and Golden Eye. Okay, so let's spawn in a couple of monsters. And your awakening ability. Okay, so let's look at the final ability. So the final ability is Snipe. As you can imagine, it snipes a single enemy and does a tremendous amount of damage on bosses and such. Okay, so now that we've looked at the abilities, let's go and have a look at the recommended leveling abilities. Okay, so for the leveling portion of this video, we're going to focus a little bit more on single target rather than massive AoE. And instead of just running into the middle of mobs and doing AoE like many other classes like the Gunslinger can achieve, we're going to focus more upon lining enemies up. So when you're leveling, majority of enemies, for example, if they were here and you run back this way, they'll all come in like a conga line. So you can shoot straight forward and hit them all like this. So that's the kind of build that I'm going to recommend that you use while leveling up. Okay, so the abilities we're going to be using is Moving Cut, Tsunami Arrow, Rapid Shot, Charging Shot, Claymore Mine, Blade Storm, Sharpshooter, and Persistent Chase. So the reason Persistent Chase is here is because Persistent Chase is a movement speed ability. However, it's kind of useless unless it has 4 points into it to make it move further. So only use this ability if you have a couple of points to throw in there so you can move a little bit quicker when maneuvering around. So your Q is going to maneuver you. Your W, I've put in a couple of points of the Tsunami Arrow so you can freeze enemies. So what this will do is when it hits an enemy 3 times with the spin, it's going to freeze them all. So you'll freeze them all on a line, which will give you enough time to use your Charge Shot and your Rapid Shot. Okay, so Rapid Shot is going to do more damage to the enemy. Then you got to follow it up by Charge Shot, Claymore Mine, and Blade Storm. So these two should actually be swapped around. Okay, so we'll spawn in some monsters and we'll show you what you mean. We'll go to the right side. So we'll freeze the enemy. Weaken them. Jump back. Charge up. AoE out of there. And use your boss killing ability to finish him off. So as you're leveling up, you're going to move some of your points around. Though I always recommend, depending on the level, of course, I would mostly focus on Charge Shot as your main DPS ability, followed up by probably Claymore Mine, because it has a nice amount of AoE and damage for like big group mobs. But generally, you're not going to get mobs that spread out. They're all going to be in a kind of a conga line. So focus more on your Charging Shot. You could put more points into Charging Shot to get the third charge ability to do that if that's what you wish. But I take points out of there so I can move them into other abilities such as Tsunami Arrow, Persistent Chase, and Moving Cut so I can move quickly. Now while you're doing this, you're also going to be using your pet. So you can basically keep spamming your pet ability over and over and over again to do AoE while they're running at you as well. Okay, so I think that covers the leveling portion for the Sharpshooter. So let's move on to the Chaos Dungeon Guide. Okay, so we're going to look at the Chaos Dungeon build. So we're going to look a little bit in depth before we actually use this build, because you kind of need to use it in the right rotation, otherwise it's just not going to be as effective. So first up for your imprints, I would highly recommend using Death Raid, or whatever the translation is on English. The reason you do this is because when you use your Hawk's final ability, so you summon Hawk here, you have your X ability, which is your final attack. It's going to do more damage, and when you hit an enemy with this, your enemy is going to take more damage from you for the next 8 seconds. Which means that as soon as you use the final attack, it now takes more damage, so you unload your entire combo on them and do as much damage as humanly possible. In the Chaos Dungeon, this will kill most mobs, which will reset all your cooldowns, so you can basically do the cycle all over again. So let's have a look at the abilities really quickly. Rapid Shot. We're going to be using Rapid Shot, so they will take more damage from us, combined with the percentage that you're already taking from the Hawk. Tsunami Arrow, which freezes them. Arrow Shell, which can be changed with the electric type if you want to get rid of Tsunami Arrow for something else. That is totally optional. Blade Storm, which is just your generic AoE. Your Claymore doubles as a jump back and damage. Your Charging Shot, you're going to use after Claymore because it takes a while to charge it, as the name implies. Sharpshooter, which will do a lot of damage, but you mostly want to use it on bosses if they haven't fallen over. And Snipe, which is what you're going to use on bosses, and just make sure they die really quickly. Okay, so the combination is we're going to spawn in, let's say, a couple of named. Okay, so we summon the bird, which makes us move quicker. We weaken them, we freeze them, we make them all take damage, we use Claymore to jump back, we charge up, and then we use single target. Now, if they hadn't died, so let's assume they didn't die, and we spawn in a couple more. We throw the Hawk at them. Did a lot of damage, and now they're taking more damage from me. So you basically do the cycle all over again. And they're dead. So let's assume it was a seed for a second. So let's assume that it's a slightly stronger boss. Let's spawn it in. Weaken it. Freeze it. Here's your generic AoE that you can use when you get a lot of mobs around you. Playball to jump back. Charge. Single target. And Snipe, which I didn't use properly there. So hopefully it doesn't die. There we go. Now I can snipe him. Remember, he's taking more damage right now. So I just hit him with a super powerful ability while he was taking more damage from both my Silver Hawk and from my Rapid Shot. So it means he took a way more damage than he should have, and you'll basically guarantee that whatever you're focused on will die. The reason this is important is because when you get into higher Chaos Dungeons, you're going to notice that the bosses start becoming like red, and they're going to get harder to kill. And when you're mostly AoE, it's not going to work very well. If you're just focusing on smaller monsters, basically you just want to group them up like this. Just run around for a second. Just kind of cut through them. As you cut through them, turn around, throw back, double freeze, and as they're all frozen, throw this on top of them again, and just basically keep looping them around, jumping backwards, and using the Charging Shot. So, if anybody has played like an Archer or a Ranger in most MMOs, this playstyle would seem very familiar with you and will really fill in that need for that kind of game style if that's what you wish. Of course, there is another type of build that you can run with this that boosts more like your party, like if you use the other engraving. But due to the fact that you're going to be single, in my opinion, in Chaos Dungeons, I'd recommend focusing on this build. Of course, that you can use your ultimate ability, which I didn't actually talk about, which is Messenger Ephemeral, which you can use to do AoE or just finish up the bosses if you wish, because it gets cooldown reduction. Okay, I think that covers everything that you need to know for the Sharpshooter guide. Hopefully this helps you clear the content quickly to get you onto the content that everybody truly desires, that is raids. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.